Good day everyone, it's me, your favourite character from the world of Alliance Alive, and your favourite warrior from our Miitopia Adventure. Things have been quiet for old Renzo lately, so I took the time to visit each of the people we met on our trip so I can update you guys. Hopefully the characters you created, named and gave faces to all receive the closure you're hoping for. Let's get started! On our grand adventure through the lands of Miitopia, we encountered many friendly faces! I get it? We begin in the town of Greenhorn, where we met one of our first friendly faces, Riroto, the cheery granny and owner of the Sour Apple General Store. We were disappointed to find out we could not purchase any of Riroto's delicious foods, as we entirely subsist ourselves on candy and bananas. You'll be happy to know cheery granny Riroto is still cheery, still granny-y, and spends their weekends with their grandchildren. What a lovely tale! Continuing to Greenhorn Castle, a place they refuse to rename Renzo's home of nuts and butter for reasons they continue to withhold, where we met up with the castle guards Buttface and Bowser. Buttface, a man of few words and mostly pupe, simply spotted all over my lovely jacket in excitement. Bowser described his time after the Dark Lord as harrowing and disappointing, which must mean his job has gotten easier. King Piranha Plant's mouth was full of mead and mutton once more, and their guards, Mifa and Sidon, informed me that he had in fact lost weight. Just a few thousand more time-appropriate units of measurement, and he may be able to join our next adventure. I handed him a rag to wipe his lips before entering the princess's chambers. A fascinating sight was had, as Princess Lale was still rubbing her long golden bangs on Bruh. Why haven't they got any furniture? A bed? A table? Yeah, a tea set I gifted them at their baby shower, but not else! It's simply strange. Anyway, they appear to be faring well in this new world, with Princess Lale set to take up the throne as soon as her father dies or reaches a size where he can no longer move. We made a bet as to which one would happen first. I bid a fond farewell, stabbed a slime on my way out, and wiped away the sputterings from Buttface. Up in the foothills of Greenhorn and across the arid plains brings us to next door, where we again run into Prince James, the spitball who was set to marry Princess Lale but was actually a huge whimpering baby. Upon meeting up with him, we found he was still crying his eyes out about Lale having fallen in love with someone else. We decided to leave him to sulk, to cry, and to burn to death in the desert. Hooray! The genie Sephiroth, a once fearful force, now next-door resident, still pledges to change himself whenever spoken to. However, I doubt his want to change, only because if I were an all-powerful genie, I'd be fulfilling my deep desires as I saw fit, even after everything that happened. I want my home of nuts and butter, darn it! Oh, I also had the pleasure of running into Giovanni, the desert celebrity. They're known by every grain of sand and every cactus, even every rock. They told me so during my rather scary hallucinations after meeting up with Prince James. Giovanni is wary of the world, but still doing their best to become known by more grains of sand, people, around the world. I bid them both good luck and continued on. I felt right at home as I entered the realm of the Fae. So many friendly faces, so many funny hats. I even ran into Colette. She cast a spell on me to go away, but all it did was conjure a banana. I ate the banana. Unfortunately, I couldn't meet all three elven sisters, as I believe Megumin is waiting for us to do something for her in the Traveler's Hub. Zelda and Midna appear to be doing well, however. I don't think the news that we beat the Dark Lord has reached them yet, only because they talk as if he is still in power. I was afraid of Megumin somehow showing up for some reason, so I lied and moved on to the next town. Bye, Peculiar! Luckily, the lands of Miitopia are not only full of NPCs that reside in towns, they also have several NPCs that follow you to each map. The roving photographer Mario64, for example. His face is still 100% terrifying, and I nearly poo myself every time he shows up after a difficult battle. He appears to be doing well, does not seek facial reconstruction surgery, and has finally moved into Quizmaster Mask Salesman's home. They live together, own 3 baby rhinos, and continue to own no mirrors. For the sake of how much glass would be everywhere, I don't blame them. I bid them both wonderful times, gave them a housewarming present, it was some food I stole from James's stash, and continued on my adventure. I traveled literally 4 feet before the prodigious postman Senku stopped me to deliver a letter. What a coincidence! He had little time to talk, but his wife, children, and orphanage for sick puppies are all doing well. I had no idea he was so busy. I asked him when he sleeps. He stared directly into my eyes for like 40 seconds before running to make his next delivery. He's kind, and I keep inviting him to my birthday parties, but he keeps not coming. Maybe parties aren't his thing. Oh well. Shadow, the Nintendo fan, was roaming a field when I found him, said he was looking for more Nintendo fans. He seems like a lonely person, so I offered to buy one of his outfits to lift his spirits. After figuring out he had none of the outfits for characters I was familiar with, I took a second yellow-green Yoshi outfit and departed. He was wondering if Mario 64 was that into Nintendo things. I told him with a name like Mario 64, that should tell him all he needs to know. While disappointed, he managed to depart me with a smile. What a kind fellow. Oh, the roaming gourmet Sinas met up with me sometime later. We both lost track of time pronouncing things in funny voices. She left with a bunch of new ways to say the word forlorn, and I was able to leave with the satisfaction of knowing that I'm not the only one who says my own name weird. It's Renzo! Renzo, Renzo, Renzo! What's so hard about that? Anyway, she told me her cousin was traveling to some degree on the western edge of the world. I picked up my stuff and ran off to meet and maybe even help them on their adventure. How is there a western edge of the world? It's a sphere. Anyway, sad as I was to not have met up with any of my former adventure mates, I was excited at the prospect of meeting Sinas' cousin. I called the dragon, whose name is still a mystery, and flew off toward Galados in hopes to meet my friends. To my absolute confusion, we met up with Link on our flyabout. How? As it turns out, the bond between Link and his horse became so strong, it grew wings and became a Pegasus. How in the almighty Alliance alive? Link yelled a great deal of nonsensicals at me as he flew on his Pegasus to the land below. Not to give James any credit at all, but I'm pretty sure he was f***ing that horse. Can't say I blame him. Turns out Galados Isle is a rather undiscovered land according to most in Miitopia, so finding anyone here was rather difficult. A battle or two yielded no results until a familiar face finally showed up. It was actually the great sage Gino and his new apprentice, Elkra. To my surprise, they were here to research the face bits left behind by the Darker Lord's rule. I vowed to help them only after I gathered the team together again and bid them farewell. They both appeared to be doing well. The dragon and I bid Galados a fine farewell too as we headed for Nimbus in hopes of finding a friend or two. To my surprise, Dragon and I were hailed from the air before we even broke the clouds. We were called to the lush lands of Greenhorn once more by who else but Brispet and Bewishert. The duo were becoming fast friends when last we fought and roomed together, so it came as no surprise that they were still traveling as a pair. Brispet stated his pop star days weren't over, and Bewishert is working on a cure for lost face syndrome, which will help return not yet returned face bits back to their owners. I'm not sure how they can afford to live in the Greenhorn Highlands, but I congratulated them both, took a piece of their pet slime, which they did not appreciate, and headed off once more. Nimbus is still a land of many mysteries to me, but our adventure was home to many fantastic questions about the world. As I wandered about the world, a shape came into my vision. It was Komi! Great Galil, whatever could she be doing up here? She explained that this was the safest distance from the sun that she could stand. When I questioned her further, she reiterated that she is a flower and needs sunlight to grow. She continued her T-pose stance and spoke in a generous and thoughtful tone. I wanted to make a short joke about how she should probably move closer to the sun, but I was cut off at the heel, which is more like the hip for her, by her mentioning that she streams on something called Twitch when she has free time. I'm not sure what Twitch is, but I congratulated her, wished her luck on her, twitching, and flew off once more. Running out of places to look for my friends, who were apparently hiding from me, I decided to circle back to Greenhorn. A green figure caught my eye as we flew, and as we drew closer, the figure revealed itself to be Princess Luigio. Finally, someone I get along with! Luigio had just finished receiving advice from Princess Lole about royal etiquette, how to curtsy without ripping the muscles in your thighs, and thong underwear. Anything more or less will wedgie like a twerky in tights. Luigio showed me how much their curtsy had improved, how trim and coiffed their mustache was, and even loaned me a pair of their Princess brand thong underwear. Apparently Luigio is seeking a castle to begin their family in, someplace called New Lumos. I didn't quite catch the name, but I did keep the underwear. My thongs were beginning to fray, and I'm always looking for more options to let the boys breathe. An even greater surprise met me outside the castle as the roaming gourmet Sinas was ing up with another person. Why, it was the adventuring version of Sinas! The timelines were crossing in the oddest of ways as I watched them both at each other for several minutes. They appeared to be having a great time together. Adventure Sinas eventually waved goodbye to her cooking counterpart. I met up with her shortly after. Sinas is doing well and is still working on her thieving skills, which went unappreciated as James simply hoarded the food she stole and was happy roaming the lands continuing to release trapped face parts. When I asked how her cousin was, she met my question with, with, I don't have any cousins. Perplexed and worried I may have made an error, I hugged her goodbye and continued my journey to find my friends. It wasn't until several hours later that I stumbled upon two of my three missing roommates, Lale, our incredible thief, and Andy, our thief gone mage. They both seemed extremely determined for some reason. Inquiry was unnecessary as they both asked the same question at the same time. Have you seen James? I responded in the negative. Andy explained that after our adventure, James had promised to dole out the food he was keeping to our party, a fact I did not know, and in the ensuing argument had stolen Andy's favorite wand. I did take note of him not using the finger pointer. Lale agreed to help Andy search as she and James spent a lot of time together and had decided to venture out to find her former roommate. I could not help on their search as I had done my own all over Miitopia as well. Instead, I offered them the dragon to help out. I decided to go home on foot as it is not far to the nearest inn. Now you may be wondering, what happened to our food-hoarding leader? Well, I have no true answer to that question. Some say he died when he opened his safe full of food and caught a whiff of the clearly rotten food inside. Others say he was captured and tortured by me until he actually let us have some of the food. A fair few even say he murdered Bra and took his place as the prince to marry Princess Lale. Personally, I believe the last option in that list. They look surprisingly similar. Oh, I just realized! I never opened the letter from Senku! Personally, I hope it isn't another penis parchment. Why do they even hire artists to draw those? Oh? Why, this is an answer to where has James been? Apparently, he's been on several quests. He's been traveling the world, clearing up wrongs where rights were meant to be, meeting incredible people, forging new friendships and working on his cooking skills. Oh, he also included a map to New Lumos. Apparently, he has some business there and wishes us to come along with him. He warns of danger, of monsters the size of skyscrapers, of difficulties and more. What does he think we are, wuzzes? We put up with his night farts. There's nothing that can stand in our way. It seems our Miitopia adventure has entered one final chapter. Despite seeking closure and dating advice from several of my old adventure mates, it seems our adventure has yet to finish. Another novel or an extended chapter, DLC if you will, to extend our time together. I, for one, am as excited as Renzo can be to see my friends again. Well, everyone, I guess I have some adventuring to get to. Thank you for making our adventure one we shan't forget as we travel again once more. Bye!